Shit, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing out there? This is Intergalactic Interviews, and this is episode 122. We are very excited to have the return of, I'm going to label him right now so that every future interview people do it this way. We are here with radio host slash actor slash voiceover god, Clay St.Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, we love it. We love him. But before we get into that, I should let you know that we have a great offer right now for our listeners. If you're sitting at home right now and you're wondering what to do with some of your spare time, maybe you don't have that much spare time, maybe you want to make the most of it, what you should probably do is go ahead and log on to floathouse.ca. Michael, what is that podcast promo code for that site?
That would be II Podcast.
That's right. II Podcast will get you 20% off your next float. What? What's a float? Well, Float House is the premier destination for isolation tank float experiences. What does that mean? You climb into a tank and you unlock the mysteries of your mind.
You're naked when you're you're naked, right?
Yes, almost all secrets are revealed when you're naked, Clay
That makes
St. Thomas.
That's true. Yeah.
That should be the tagline.
That should be the new tag.
What? Just you're naked, right?
I usually say it's like a spa for your mind. But I think you're naked when the secrets are revealed to you.
Hashtag you're naked.
Yeah, that should be the new one. It's a great facility, though. You get your own private shower, private tank, obviously. You get like your own house coat, your own slippers. They just take care of you.
Are there group tanks? Is that...
That's a thing.
That?
That's a thing,
really?
but it's not offered at these locations.
Oh,
it's
okay.
It's more of a personal experience. I've heard of like tandem tanks. You can go in there with like... with
tanks?
Tanks, yeah, tandem tanks, and I don't know. That's not for me. That's not the way I would want to do it. At least not your first.
Well, I would think
4
not.
or 5 times at least. It's
such
such
a personal experience.
It's a very, very personal experience.
Oh.
But you know, someone's like your time traveling through your childhood, and then like your spouse or your friend
Bump
is
up
like
against someone's
running in there. You're like what's going on here? You know. But it's good. I think people should check it out. We float. You should float. You'll love it. It's amazing. There's so many locations to choose from. Go to floathouse.ca. One more time, Michael Saavedra.
II Podcast.
Yes, sir. That was excellent copy that you just killed. That was excellent. I like that.
It wasn't bad.
I feel like you stepped up your game because you're in front of Clay.
One of the top 3 at least.
Yeah, top 3.
Yeah.
That's good effort, though.
Yeah.
Is that because Clay St. Thomas is in the room?
Well, trying.
Yeah, he's...
Is that part of the reason you guys are a blistering number 2 in the West Ender Best Podcast
Oh,
event?
he's breaking the news.
Yeah, we were recently... I don't say crowned because I don't think they hand out crowns for that stuff. But
It's definitely not a crown.
Whatever this means, we were recently told that we are the 2nd overall podcast in the city, according to the West Ender magazine. Which, whatever that means, we're happy to take it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we don't know for
You used
sure.
to live there for a bit.
Yeah.
The West End.
For 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Made me an overnight elitist.
I think that helped.
Good.
I think that helped.
Yeah, we don't know who won first, but if it's who we think it is, hats off to them because they deserve it and everything's awesome.
They're douches.
Whoever.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't even know them.
Here
but I
we
can't
go.
imagine.
Here we go.
They're the competition.
Clay St. Thomas. Clay St. Thomas throwing out proclamations, godly decorations.
They're not in my fan club. I'll tell you that.
Oh my God! Oh my God! See how much support we have here? Blind support. It's my favorite kind. with no research. It's my favorite kind. We are happy though that we won. So thanks if you guys voted for us out there. If you contributed somehow to getting us to that,
Thank you
we appreciate
so much.
it big time because this is the kind of entertainment medium where there aren't a lot of those checklists along the way of things that like make you feel you're hitting different milestones.
Totally, no. It's about as grassroots as it gets for broadcasting. And so, if somebody officially is shining a light on you and saying congratulations, that's awesome.
We appreciate that, and you know what? It's the listeners that support us, right? Like, we were just doing a show. Surely this will be archived somewhere, and someone will pick it up wherever for something.
Yeah.
But it's the listeners that keep it going and want us to keep going, and you receive feedback all the time in person and through social media. So it's really awesome. It's a good thing to be a part of.
Yeah. I wish you told me there was cameras now.
Oh, yes. So since you've returned to the show, things have been considerably different. Like, we are now here. We're no longer in a bank vault. And
which was cool.
That was pretty rad, though,
but
right?
Your locations are mind-numbing. So to go from the bank
It's going to be a coal mine soon.
That's right. Yeah, you have to take the trolley down.
Yeah,
Just hop in this mine cart here.
You got to sign
down
down
to the show.
You have a lot of waivers. I'll be honest.
This canary's coming with you.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
That would make sense because there was no air conditioning in the last spot. Do you remember? Was it quite warm?
It
last
was
time?
warm. Yeah, it was a little sweaty.
I remember trying to warn you beforehand. I was like, just so you know, it's a little warm because we've worked in.
We're one layer.
Yeah, like I had a couple old studios we worked in when we first met during the voiceover recordings for the game Signal Ops by Space Bullet.
Yeah,
and you did a fair amount of work in that game for voiceovers.
Yeah,
and great job, by the way. I think it's great. But the space there, it was also like I don't know. It's funny. Studios are either like these incredibly world-class facilities where there's just like it's pristine. It's the high, like 5-star A-class thing.
Yeah.
Or it's like we want it to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like, or we want it to be that. I'll say.
How do they normally air
Records
condition
like,
a studio though?
Sorry?
How do you normally air condition a studio
You
without
don't.
being loud?
You don't. It's
so
actually
you just got to ventilate it well somehow, or what do you do?
air conditioning, ventilation,
Or whatever,
in any,
yeah.
Well, yeah, ventilation in any capacity in any kind of studio, in music studios, is one of the most difficult things
Yeah.
to take care of. It's actually accounts for a lot of the space that ends up being your workable space. The reason being is that the acoustics within a room for live music, as well as completely dead rooms for like voiceovers and certain drums, whatever, according to the engineer, the producer's desire, ventilation can really wreak havoc on those sonic frequencies. It can really like screw it up. That's why if anyone listening ever has a chance to go check out like a really nice mastering studio, like a mastering suite, you sit down on the couch or the console there with the mastering engineer, you'll notice like it's the deadest, quietest room, and there's definitely no air conditioning. There's no anything. You might have like a personal fan they let you turn on for 5 minutes at a time or something, but there's nothing in there. It's usually one guy. That's why there's solitary creatures mastering engineers.
Yeah. I hung out for a while recently in the Armory.
Yes,
I was going to mention
studio,
the Armory
yeah.
actually.
Speaking of world class,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
it's crazy. They have the monitors are the size of a minivan. Like it's just like I can't believe the money people spend on something as simple as studio monitors.
Yeah, it's something to behold when you walk into a really beautiful space. The history of that place.
Well, the Armory is
Yeah.
just a nice facility in general. They got like a little patio. They've got like a little lounge. There's a kitchen there,
Oh,
from what I
yeah,
remember.
that's
Like,
true,
it's
yeah.
just, I mean, maybe every place is like that. I don't know, but it was nice.
Yeah, it's really
And then not to mention all the gold records on the wall from Bon Jovi and
very
Sure, yeah.
inspirational.
Aerosmith and
What were you doing at the Armory?
I was in a video for the Washboard Union,
Okay.
a local group that is kind of killing it right now in Canadian country music. They are the CCMA, Canadian Country Music Association, winners for Roots Artist of the Year in their first year. They only have an EP out officially.
Is it country or bluegrass or like what is it?
Well, it's sort of like Zach Brown band kind of
Okay.
country.
Oh, okay.
So it's got a kind of a funky acoustic thing to it, kind of
Okay.
a jam vibe.
Yeah.
But they're smart because they kind of work a whole beard. One guy actually plays washboard. So they're working a whole kind of hipster sort of funky thing.
All right.
Like everybody in the room here except me
Sure.
and Chris.
So this is beards versus no
Plus,
beards right now.
Chris, I'm guessing you're also of the couldn't grow one if I tried.
It's not pretty when it happens.
Exactly. Yeah, but you mean the same thing. It's always like, are you sick?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to grow a beard.
Are you sick?
Anyway, so the Washboard Union are awesome, and they're killing it right now. They've had several massive radio hits the last year, and they asked me to be in their video for their new single.
Right.
So I played the producer of their album track. You'd have to see the thing. It's called Head Over Heels. Google. I spent a day playing around with that because one of their two lead singers is a guy I was in an acting class with about 9 years ago. So I've known Aaron for a long time, and he and Chris and Dave, the three principals in the band, are just super cool guys. Anyway, they shot this thing at the Armory because the storyline that happens about this couple falling in love is during a recording session for a Washboard Union fake single at the Armory.
Okay.
So I was the douchebaggy but nice guy in the end producer.
Did
of
you
the session.
model your production like your style? Did you monitor it after anyone in particular?
Well, the director of the video kept referencing Burt Reynolds in Boogie Nights
Oh, okay.
as a character, and I was like,
Were you
I
like,
don't
that's
think
a-
I can do that.
Yeah, that's a video producer. Yeah.
But that kind of scumbag.
I see.
I think my guy wound up being a little warmer than that because I was having a very good time and I didn't look. I looked like in the video like I was having too good of a time to be that kind of scumbag. So anyway, we hung out at the Armory all day, which was cool because I'd never seen it before, and it's just an unbelievable.
It is beautiful
It's
in
a
there.
hell of
Yeah.
a space.
Really, really nice. Yeah, it's up there. I have never tracked music in there, but I've been in there a couple times, and it's beautiful in there. I really like it. I think one thing I got to mention is last time I had you on the show. Do you want this?
I'm saying we should mention them.
Oh, we haven't talked about this yet?
No.
I was waiting for the second ad to come up because I've
my
drunk all of the promo stuff already.
See, I started passing it because he gave me the symbol to fill his glass. and
No, I
was
gave you
like-
the symbol to look at beer.
Oh,
that we haven't talked about.
yeah, I gave you the symbol to talk about the sponsor. Oh, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I should probably pass this off to Michael Saavedra since he's the resident beer expert. And Michael Saavedra, if you'd let us know, what are we drinking this week?
Well, we are drinking, as we normally do, from Off the Rail Brewing here in Vancouver, BC. They had recently just celebrated their second anniversary. The party was fantastic from what I've heard, and everybody was super happy. Today we are drinking the Eastbound and Brown, the
I like it.
Nut Brown
It is
Ale.
delicious. Nice.
It is a fantastic
This is the kind I
beverage.
like.
And a nice, easy drinking, perfect for an afternoon in the fall or winter time.
Don't tell me when I can drink it, Michael.
On a crisp
I'll drink it whenever
patio.
I want.
It's good. Yeah, crisp patio drinking beer. I love it.
There you go.
Thank you to everybody there, and congratulations on your 2-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Is this a new thing now? Podcasts have video cameras and in-house beer.
This
I
is pretty
like
sweet.
it.
Some do.
Well,
Well,
Oh.
don't wait.
some podcasts are better than others.
Yeah, as we've established, yes.
Some are one less better.
Yeah,
but,
some are one less better. Some are just second overall better. Some are like, there's another hill to climb. Let me ask, doesn't JRFM let you drink beer and have video support?
There's gotta be
Actually,
way
now that
crazier.
the liquor laws have changed, that you can drink on the radio. There was a thing.
Oh.
It used to be once upon a time a thing
You
about.
couldn't drink on the radio?
Well,
Only
no,
college
promoting-
radio, maybe.
What the hell?
What?
Promoting liquor? No. As in the hands folded in our laps, Canadian liquor law sense. No, that would be.
Okay, I'm fascinated by this.
insane.
Yeah, no, but now I don't know when it happened, but in the last 5 years, you can do anything you want on the radio now. I don't know when it happened. Now, that said, we don't drink a lot in the mornings because our show's from 5 to 9. But I have had the experience recently of we did a Christmas broadcast that was the Jack Daniel's high-end bourbon.
You're talking about single barrel Jack Daniels.
Yeah. Well, is it? Okay.
Or-
it was really nice. Something Reserve. I should know the name because they sponsored the show.
Single
Anyway,
Barrel Reserve,
they
yeah.
brought in. They made these Christmas cocktails, and they came in early in the morning, and they had a shit ton of bourbon, and it was not good for the show. I'll tell
Wow.
you that. 'Cause
What,
it got
what
really-
kind of how did it affect it?
Oh, it just got. I think it got really sloppy about,
Oh,
by about
okay,
7:15
yeah.
a.m.
Wow. no
Was it
kidding.
just the host, or was everyone drinking?
Well, everyone who came, the purpose of the thing was they were doing a deal with Hawksworth and Nightingale is the Hawksworth offshoot. They had one of their bartenders down, and they were doing a
restaurant.
whole thing
It's a
about
nice restaurant.
they will create cocktails based on your personality.
Oh, okay.
So they would decide. Their whole promo thing was they'll decide which one of the 9 reindeer you are. This was Christmas. They'll decide which one of the 9 reindeer you are. Are you Blitzen? Are you Dancer? Are you Prancer? And then they have a they have a special for that.
and then
person.
everyone was blitzing.
Everyone
was blitzing by about 7:20.
Obviously.
Do you remember what they gave you?
I was blitzing.
You were Shocker.
Yeah. So, but that's it's good. But again, it's hard to. This is why I was holding up my glass, going, "Oh, it's empty, boys." But really, one glass of anything is probably enough if you want to have a coherent conversation.
I think for me, I haven't been drinking a lot lately, but I tried to kick myself out of ketosis this past weekend. We were just talking off air. And
So ketosis is a dive over here in Cordova, right?
yeah, ketosis, just like
a great
It's really
bar.
weird. It's a really
Yeah,
weird bar.
it's this no carb bar. It's really bizarre.
No sugar either. What is this?
I stand before you sitting, as Ivan Decker pointed out last week. I sit before you. I am now 221 pounds. and I started off at New Year's at 237. So
Skinny jeans and slim T-shirts. Here we come.
speaking
Eh?
of which, I haven't been able to fit these jeans in about a year, so I'm pretty happy with myself.
There you go.
Right now. Yeah.
There you go.
See, when you talk to guys about stuff like this, you eventually find that they have skinny clothes too. Like
Yeah.
women all have. I have 3 sizes in my entire wardrobe, but guys know what their skinny jeans are too.
I agree. I ask C-Mart all the time. C-Mart tells me all his jeans are skinny jeans.
That's not
right.
true.
That's
I have one pair.
they're by default are
Nope.
skinny jeans. Look at you. There's no way if you're like these are baggy. I'm like no, those are not baggy. What cut are you wearing right now?
Just jeans. I don't know.
Just regular
Normal.
dungarees.
Norms.
Norms. Boot cut for sure.
They're cut for legs.
sure.
Normal human legs.
Why are you giving him a hard time about bootcut jeans?
That's a great question.
Like
No,
wait,
I
what's wrong
really
with
like
boot
this
cut?
question.
Hold on, is that what you're wearing right now?
No.
I don't even know what cut mine are.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, no one does. Because no one understands the cut of their jeans unless they're fucking
See,
super...
but what I find interesting is that you gave him a hard time about bootcut jeans, and he is getting defensive about bootcut jeans.
That's right. That's right. If it was nothing to you, you would have let it go.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know the
So-
cut. I don't know the cut.
See, Clay St.Thomas is the perfect straw to this drink. He's just stirring it a little bit.
Well, I just am an observer of human behavior. I
like
see
fair enough.
I like
things that
this.
are going astray, and I pick on them.
Last time we chatted, you told me, you were in the midst of shaking the typecast of news reporting in your screen acting career.
Yeah, that hasn't happened.
What-
I'm still the news reporter.
Have you taken on more roles then in that?
Hey, I was a weather guy. I was
Okay.
a TV weather guy in an episode of Timeless. Have you seen this show?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's- yeah. Oh,
Very
yeah.
well done. Anyway, it's shot here. I had no idea. But it aired like 3 weeks ago. So I was an 80s weather guy in this incredibly loud plaid jacket.
Well, that's a
And it was
compliment.
that was fun to do. So yeah, no, it is what it is. Like but little training I've done as an actor, like for about 15 years, I did an evening class a week to learn acting. Because I knew if I wanted to be a better voice actor and to do some screen stuff, I should probably get some actual training and not just try to fluff my way through it.
In Vancouver.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
It's a
haven't
great
done
city
anything in
for
about
it, though.
5 years, but was it?
Seems like a great city for it, though. Like,
Oh, totally.
Between film and video games and stuff like that. This
Oh
is-
yeah, no, and you work in radio, and there's a certain cadence that comes naturally after a while.
Yep.
And if you want to do other stuff, you got to talk yourself out of that and understand what it is to actually act, not just use your voice. So that's why I started. And in spite of the fact that I have done a substantial training, I guess over 15 years, when I walk into an audition room, I'm 80% of the time auditioning to be the newscaster, anchor, TV interviewer dude. Because they look at what I do and they go, oh, this is right up your alley.
He'll be perfect.
Yeah, and my agent knows that that's the pocket I can get hired for. So she said, I don't blame her. It's all good. She sends me up for that stuff all the time.
Right.
So I have, I don't know, this week it's probably 44, 45 TV and film credits, of which 35 are.
I think that's pretty fair because
Yeah.
I was looking at your IMDb today.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's newscaster, like straight up and
Newscaster,
down. It's like
newscaster,
nothing wrong with
newscaster.
being a character actor. Nothing wrong with
So,
that.
yeah.
So since we've last had you on, I was thinking about that statement, this whole back and forth we had about that, and Mike brings up a good point. He's like, no, this makes sense. Like, you obviously you're in the pocket, you're doing well at this, right? And I started thinking to myself, because you talked about maybe like, trying to get away from that and just see what else is out there and outside, but like still being in that vein.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if there's like some young kid out there who's like just wants to do like the weather reports and maybe just wants to do like
Don't take that on as a career goal.
TV news reporting
Because you're
roles.
going to work.
Well,
3 or
hold on. A meteorologist is a legit...
Oh no, I thought you were playing one on TV.
No,
Okay,
on
sorry.
no, like not a
Oh,
real
okay,
one.
sorry, okay.
But like, but this kid is out there and he's just like, all I want to do is act as a TV reporter in various situations, maybe possibly a meteorologist.
On
and
Twister.
and then they think every time I
Okay.
go to do these reads though, there's one guy. And he
I thought you were looking for some kind of advice or something.
He just
My
gets
advice
it
would be
every
set your
time.
sights higher.
You do quite well though. Like honestly, like you work fairly consistently. Like in voiceovers, you work fairly consistency. Obviously, like you host the radio 5 days a week,
Yeah.
right? Those this is like a long tenure within entertainment. You've been doing it for a very long time.
Yep.
You have a pretty significant milestone coming up, don't you?
Oh, yes. No, in March 17th, my wife reminded me today, will be the 20th anniversary of my first on-air show at Jayme.
20 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, because that
Congratulations.
kind of shit doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anymore. It used to be more regular, but it doesn't happen in the modern era at all.
Yeah, the turnover is ridiculous on a lot of modern radio.
I'm
Like, it's
blown
just
away.
every few years, it seems like guys are moving back and forth.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, without being immodest, I'd like to think it probably, it has something to do with Karen and I and the chemistry we have. Karen Daniels is my co-host. But it's all, the other things that come into play are it's also the fact that we are an independent. We're owned by the Jim Pattison Group, so that doesn't sound like an independent. That sounds about as corporate as you get.
Right.
But as far as radio goes, we're not controlled by some national entity headquartered in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a private company owned by Jim Pattison. We're not a public company. So public companies have a bottom line thing that is much, much more harsh. And if things are not working well this quarter, you might be gone next quarter. And I haven't worked in that for 20 years. I've worked where they are interested in long-term stability and with doing what is best for the radio station,
Right.
not what's best for bottom line next quarter.
How involved is Jimmy? Like, does he like show up at the office? Yeah, the Pats. Does
I have no idea. I have to avert my eyes whenever he comes in.
Oh yeah.
It's in my contract. I can't look him directly in the eye.
He seems like a good guy, but he also seems like
He's
the
got
guy
a big
that,
boat.
Yeah, like he personally hands out the checks at the end of the week or something. Like you have to line up and he hands them out.
He is a good guy. He's an amazing man. I mean, you don't become is it the second or third? I think this year it's third richest person in Canada.
Definitely.
Without being an amazing individual who's got his stuff lined up.
Definitely, I agree with that.
And-
His boat is actually phenomenal.
It's insane.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
boat is good.
Yeah.
The Nova Spirit is a fairly incredible seagoing creature.
A vessel.
I remember seeing when I just moved to Vancouver. I remember seeing somebody cleaning his boat, and
Somebody. That's a multi-person task.
well, hold on, but it was just one guy. I was just on the dock or
It's a
whatever.
team of people.
Yeah, and I saw one person cleaning, and I said, "Hey, is this, like naively?" I was like, "Hey, is this your boat?" And the guy
my
like
God.
right away, it didn't miss a beat. He was just like, he's like, if you own this boat, you don't have to clean it.
I like the snark.
Dude, yeah, and
Yeah.
He just like kind of turned around, like he was like, you know how many times someone asked me, he like starts cleaning.
It's in the top 30. I don't know what the number is, but it's in the top 30 largest yachts in the world.
It's very big.
It's
Yeah.
very nice though.
It takes up a whole portion of the dock.
A whole part of the
Like it has
pier.
its own spot. In
There's no
like,
dock. It's like a part of the pier.
Yeah, sure.
It's like a
yeah.
harbor.
It's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, no kidding.
They actually parts of Cole Harbor. The waters part like Moses in the Red Sea, and then it docks.
But for real though, you can't bring that boat everywhere.
When your boat skills reach
Like-
level 70, then you're able to
Yeah.
part seas and yeah, of course.
What I find funny about boats like that, because they're captained by there's a crew, right?
Right.
And what I think is interesting is to be a person on that crew. So like I want my boat here at this date.
Oh right.
And so they're like, okay, well, we gotta get to like Morocco by June.
I see.
Like, okay,
yeah.
so like that's in like a month. So or whatever the time scale is. So you gotta we gotta get going.
Yeah.
They gotta go through Panama Canal and like go through or whatever, and like they gotta get to a spot. They get there, and the guy's like, "Oh, good,
Yeah,
you
that's
made it."
that's like captaining
it's
by
super
proxy.
crazy.
Like because there'll be a captain in your place, but you're like the owner, so you're like, yeah, meet me. I need to meet you. You need to meet me. Landlock United Arab Emirates
Yeah.
with the boat.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah, you gotta come to the Red Sea.
Jimmy is not wearing a jaunty hat, cocked to one side, and spinning a big wheel. There's a
No,
guy
it's
for
great.
that.
I always like when I've read various yachting magazines.
He has probably done that once, though, right? You're damn right
For
he
the
has.
pictures, yeah.
Singing the sailor's pipe horn or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been the first thing I would have done. I mean, like,
Definitely.
you get that ship out to water and give me that hat.
You get me the
that
shirt
hat.
with the tassels.
I want it right now.
Yeah. The most famous thing everyone talks about after you've been on the Nova Spirit once is the no red wine rule.
Oh,
Sorry.
What?
What do you mean? No
There's
red?
no red wine
see that.
served on the Nova
Is
Spirit.
it now is
see
a
that.
white
because a lot of the interior
Interior?
is cream
Yeah.
and white
Oh.
and lovely. And
it's expensive.
It's easier than killing you if they don't allow
Jeez.
red wine.
That's what's crazy
on
about
the
boats.
spirit.
Boats
you just
are
go out
so
on a boat,
fucking
don't
pricey.
come back.
Well, yeah.
Everything on a boat, might as well just multiply that price by a bunch.
Yeah. No, 100%. So that's, I think that's still the rule. I'm pretty sure it always was. So,
Wow. No red wine though.
It's a good rule.
see, I'm not a wine person, so that's I can do with any of that.
Top deck, red wine. Come on.
No cranberry.
What is there?
Can I drink Jack Daniels on his boat?
I think they have everything else in the bar. Everything else but red
That's
wine.
absurd.
All right.
Brown liquor? Are you kidding me?
Brown liquor.
This nut brown ale, this delightful nut brown ale from.
He looks
Off the
empty.
Rail.
Off the Rail Brewing. Oh yeah.
You know what? I should probably, because I have had very little sleep in the past 24 hours, and I do have to drive home.
By the way, you were up today doing a show at 5 a.m.
Yes, I was.
That's insane.
and you still made time for us today.
Huh?
You're a champion. We appreciate that. I was hoping if you're up for this, I was hoping I could just actually get a little bit more in depth than we usually get, because with the format of radio, you're doing these like sprints in between songs, where you're doing like a couple minutes at a time, songs, but it's like jam packed. All this content, super well done, super well produced. Everything's really well done. And then you come in on this podcast, and this podcast is like a marathon where you run long distance for like about an hour.
Yeah.
And so to our content in that, I'd love to just kind of maybe talk about some stuff that maybe some people don't know about you. Maybe I would just want to know, like, what's something that people are not often aware of when they meet you.
Oh. I'm never.
The recipient of this question.
Well, and nobody ever asked that, and I never think of myself in those terms. Like,
Okay, yeah.
Well, how people perceive me or don't perceive me, so I don't really get into.
Oh, okay.
I wonder what they expect of me, and if I'm meeting their expectations. Like I
You can
would never have thought of that.
climb into my neuroses at any time here. Just
So
go
the
ahead.
question is what?
The question is what is something that when people meet Clay St. Thomas, they're not really that aware of, like something that they might think about you, but they don't actually know.
Geez, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Because
I thought about
don't
it
think if you
on the way
listen
here.
regularly to the radio show, I don't think there's much that you would think you didn't know, or much that hasn't come up at some
Right.
point.
Yeah.
Because hey guys, we're in a
Audience.
court over here in Gastown, and people are waving through the window of what is the studio here in the Float House, and it's really neat. This is a really cool Gastown vibe,
That's nicer than a bank vault, that's for sure. Yeah,
which was also cool.
it was very cool, but
Nobody can see you down there, though.
That's right. And it's sweaty, as we've established. It was very, very moist.
Dungeon
moist
Scream,
It's pretty moist in here, but different moist.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
in
you're
answer
saying.
to your question, I don't know what they would be surprised to find out.
Like I was surprised to find out that you are such an adept musician.
Okay, I wouldn't say adept.
Okay.
So what makes you say I'm adept? I'm curious where you get that from.
I think the ability to piece together music in the way I've seen you put together, even your ideas in songwriting,
Yeah.
is nothing short of adept, because there are people that play, people that noodle around, people that do this and that, but you to have an idea start to finish, be able to have a song written, to be able to do that proper. That's proper songwriting. That's adept.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
You're adept at that. I think that definitely describes it much more than like, oh, you're a guy who owns a guitar. Like that's undervaluing what you do.
I guess you always know what you can't do, though. So I'm not a really good guitar player. I can pick up a guitar and play almost anything. If I even remotely know the melody, I can kind of play this thing now. I can play the melody within minutes, and because I have a musical sense.
Yeah.
I'm not really a good guitar player. Like I can't play lead.
Let me just ask the crew here real quick, boys. Is that adept, being able to hear something within a minute and be able to play it? I think that's pretty adept. I don't think most people could do that.
It's not unskilled.
Yeah. We used to do a thing. I've stopped doing it now.
You're not a beginner.
Yeah.
You're not
But I
beginner.
think what Andy's saying also is that arrangement is also valuable.
Yeah.
And to understand like the songwriting process and know like what sounds good
Like that's so
backed up
important.
against,
works
and
on
as you
this.
move stuff
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
because other people are just like, oh, it sounds good, and then someone rearranges it, and they're like, oh no, that's way better, but they didn't know that it could have been better.
I have to agree. Yeah, and
So I've had
Yeah.
I've had a producer at a voiceover session. This guy they do a lot of work in town at Wave Studios. And Colin there said to me one day during a session, he
is
said,
that in White Rock?
No.
No.
They just moved over to 7th. They used to be, they're still on 7th, but they were at 7th and Ontario in
Hold
that
on.
studio group.
Blue Waves?
Not Blue Wave, same building, but Wave is the name of it. I know, it's weird because there's Blue
Oh,
Wave in
that's
that same
the
building.
upstairs one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, we're very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, don't worry.
Or
Yeah,
is there a bad history?
No,
That
no,
sounds
well,
like-
We went to school
we went
there.
to school at Blue
Oh,
Wave.
okay, yeah, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Into
So anyway,
college.
that's not germane to my story, which is at one point during the,
Jeez.
I don't care about where you went to school.
It's a marathon, remember? It's a
Yeah,
marathon.
that's right. That's
Sorry.
right. So we can go on these tangents. Like you know, where commercials are coming up. I gotta go. And he said, "You're a musician, aren't you?" It for the first time I ever voiced anything there. And he said, "Because I can describe something to you, and after having heard it once, you can do exactly the thing I just said, like in terms of the cadence of a voiceover."
Right.
So it's a memory. It's a musical kind of memory of knowing how
match
things
game.
are supposed to sound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's that, I guess. We used to do a thing. I've stopped doing it because I felt it wasn't as popular as it should have been on the show. So out of spite, I stopped. We used to do a thing called Clay Strums the Headlines, where the thing was I would come into the studio with a guitar that morning, and based on something our news person was doing, I would ask her what stories were coming up, and I would literally write a little parody based on one of the stories. But the idea was I had to do it on the spot. It had to be done in the next, usually within 20 minutes, half hour.
I think I've
This sounds
heard
like a good era
I've
for
heard
it.
some of these. I've definitely heard your song parodies before.
Yeah.
There was one particular one I think during the Canucks playoff run. I think that may have had, if I'm remembering this correctly, I don't know. I might have that wrong. But
There's several during whatever limited Canucks playoff runs we've had. There's been
Yeah.
a lot of song parodies. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of the big 2011.
The run.
The run.
No, we did some for
quote,
sure. I
unquote.
can't remember what they were of now. But this, I have to go
You
back
do
to the
5
vaults.
hours of radio a day. I don't expect you to remember.
I can't remember what I did this morning.
No, I like that though. I think that there is something to that. There's a bit of a correlation between voiceovers and music, because that ability to be able to pick out melody within a cadence,
Yeah, yeah.
and be able to repeat that properly. It's funny in screen acting when a director would line read you. It's a very annoying thing, right? They don't allow
Yeah,
you freedom.
as an actor, you're supposed to be, oh, that's so gauche.
Yeah,
I don't mind at all.
Right?
Like, as long as I'm getting the thing you want me to do.
That's what you want, right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm totally cool with that. Now, ideally, you would take the line reading and you're hopefully going to make it something that makes sense to you where, as an actor, it is funded emotionally or it comes from the right place.
Mm-hmm.
But you tell me how you want it to sound. I know I'm here as a horse, like I'm a mule for your purpose, and if I can get across the stream as this mule with the advice you've given me, okay.
I think that is the best attitude. That's probably why you get booked as often as you do.
You're giving me money to
Yeah,
do this.
exactly.
No kidding.
So I will
but-
do what
yeah,
you want.
That's right. Yeah.
It's something truly remarkable about the level of once people get through the door, they let go of the handle on the other side and they think, "Oh, I'm in forever" or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's the oddest thing to watch happen. You see someone struggle for a long time to become like working and to become this like steady, employable entertainer.
Yeah.
And then once they get in there, they figure, "Oh, well, now everything is to serve me," and it's very it's
Only
gross,
taking
man.
leading man roles.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like
or
this-
I'm, they have this self-image that I am this or I am that, and so I don't have to do that or that.
Yeah, which is
And-
very strange.
yeah, okay.
Very strange. Like I think everyone here has had an experience with somebody who's like that, where they are like, I don't know, overreaching or underreaching, depending on who they
Yeah,
are, I guess.
yeah.
But
It might even be yourself, but you learn from it.
you,
Even
yes,
for
Yeah.
a moment,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, never mind. It's
Yeah, and I, totally have done that
Yeah.
at varying
Sure,
points,
yeah.
for sure. Like I'm not any saint about it or anything, but now I'm going to name drop for a second. But I had the chance to work for one day on a film here, and the director was Robert Redford.
nice.
Yeah. So, I was kind of blown away. But just the most gracious, easygoing, down-to-earth guy, like just
Did you call him Bobby?
This is Bob. I mean, he's introduced as Bob. This is Bob. When I got on set, this is Bob. And I had no idea because I'm, again, doing my news reporter thing. And often those things are shot with somebody with a handheld camera over here in the corner and don't bother the main unit. So, so the fact that Bob was doing this thing was kind of cool. But he was just, when you're at that level of you've been doing this for as long as you have, you don't have to put on any attitude with anybody.
No.
You can be gracious to everyone and be nice to everybody. You have nothing left to prove.
Right.
So, not that you should ever anyway, but the phase of your career where you kind of strutted anything is long since gone. You have climbed every mountain you need to climb in the movie industry if you're Robert Redford. Yeah. So you can afford this. He thinks I'm. They all think I'm a reporter, and that's how I got the role. And I never want to tell them.
Oh God,
I've never worked news a day in my life. When they go in the audition room, they always go, "So this would be easy for you because you've done this." I go, "Yeah, it's not. I've never done this." Yeah. and then do the audition anyway. So he doesn't have to be anything to me. But he's as sweet and gracious and supportive of me as he is every other person, from the grips to the camera people to the craft services people, everybody. But an example of what you're saying, where you don't have to, just because you've reached a certain point, you almost kind of lose the nonsense.
The hand up is always so much more significant than the hand pushing down.
Yeah,
like look at that, like. Just working with Robert Redford, you would have obviously this this whoa story of like, hey, this is really cool. I got to work with this guy. He's very accomplished. But to have him essentially, I don't know, like treat you in such a kind manner that it stands out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that was really like I remember. Did you say you worked with Zack Snyder when you did Watchmen, right?
Yes.
He actually sat. It's one of these situations where he actually was.
He was actually on he was on set for that thing.
Yeah.
My little 8 seconds.
And he was kind.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
He was great. Yeah, same thing. He was a lot busier that day. Like he literally ran off. That was on not even the second unit, like the third unit, where we were shooting this thing off on a green screen, and he came over and just wanted to see how it looked. So it was very quick. It was different than the Robert Redford thing because he didn't have much time.
Just the fact that he still came over.
Yeah, but he wanted this. He wanted he had a specific idea for how he wanted this thing to go, and he wanted to make sure that it was doing that. And then he ran off again.
Yeah,
but very nice guy. Like he was just very good about it. And again, told me exactly what he wanted it to be like, and I did my best to do exactly that.
I was wondering if you had a story or a memory about Stuart McLean, because he passed away this past week.
No, I never met him.
Never met him.
No. Like everybody.
Did you ever listen to him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone kind of has like one or two stories, like remembering and whatnot about him. I was sad to hear that he had passed away. Sometimes you hear celebrity deaths or pseudo celebrity deaths. People pass away, and you it doesn't really affect you. It kind of just goes through you. But this felt like a piece of Canadiana or something.
Yeah,
something
totally.
about that was just like, it didn't pass as easily as I thought it would. Like a couple of days later, I was still like thinking about it.
Yeah,
like it was.
There's so few people that have that have the mantle of being a Canadian storyteller and being loved as a Canadian storyteller.
Right.
And I don't know if his stories were particularly Canadian. Some of them were, I guess. He was just really good at telling stories about people, and he was Canadian, and he was on the CBC.
Right.
So I think we all interpret them as Canadian stories. But
that's a good I like that. That's a good analysis of that.
Yeah, I never listened to him and thought, wow, this is so Canadian. I just thought they were really entertaining, good stories.
Yeah. Right.
And he has a knack for knowing exactly what stuff to hold back and when to let that devastating the juice of the story, when to start letting that out to you, so that it makes comedic sense. Like just so good. And over I don't know how long those Vinyl Cafe broadcasts were.
Long time, like 2 decades or something like that.
Yeah,
more than that maybe.
But to be able to that kind of output is unbelievable.
You're right about his the way he would slow burn you.
Yeah,
like the slow cook of a joke, and he would let it burn out over many minutes. Of conversation, and he had the most peculiar timing in comedy. I don't know. It's the best way, because you wouldn't necessarily say he's a comedian, so to speak. But that's why I think the storytelling thing kind of picks up.
And to layer things And each one of them, you only understand after you look back at the whole story he's just told, why this layer was important and that layer was important, because it's all going to come up to something at the end.
Yeah.
That's just going to slay the whole thing. Just, yeah, brilliant.
I think it's really, really crazy. I have a story for you.
Okay.
I was going to tell us last week, and then I thought maybe no, and I thought about it all week. So I mean,
Is there anyone named Morley or Dave in the story?
No. Morley walked amongst the soft crunch of the snow. That's like that's what he would say.
That's good. Yeah.
And Dave picked up their trusty coat, the coat that never failed them in the red autumn. That's exactly.
That's exactly it. Yeah. You want to audition? They got an opening.
I heard they have an opening now. Yeah. No, those would be giant shoes to fill, I think. You know what? I lost my entire wallet about 2 weeks ago, and it's like all
As
all
opposed
of its
to
contents.
half your wallet?
No, but sometimes you just lose your debit card or something, right?
Sure,
I lost my whole
entire
wallet, and like all the contents of my wallet is what I'm trying to say.
I understand.
So I lost like my driver's license, my health card, all my identification, everything gone. But I've been living in British Columbia now for almost 12 years. So all of it's British Columbia ID. Mm-hmm. But all of my remaining stuff at home that I could possibly identify myself with is from when I lived in Ontario. So I took an expired passport, my original SIN card that has a break down the middle, which I don't even know if it's valid, probably not, and
a number.
And my Ontario birth certificate. I took it all down to ICBC to get my replacement driver's license. So I'm standing there waiting. I get to the front, and the lady addresses me rather quickly. She says, I was such in a hurry. I just wanted to get it done. I wasn't really paying attention. And she goes, okay, Mr. Mick, if you could just come along this way. And I'm like, oh, sorry, Mr. Mick. And she's like, looks down at her computer, looks at me. Yes, Mr. Mick? And I was like, it's McDonald, Jayme McDonald. Has been for 31 years.
You know that I will be calling you Mr. Mick from now on. Just FYI.
Now,
You're not Irish, are you?
I am Scottish. But imagine that. Now, if I was a sensitive soul, I'd be like, that's a derogatory term.
Well,
Celtic
she said it,
background.
I didn't say it.
But now walk yourself through this. Here is a member of a corporation relabeling me and defining me, and then asking. I said, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're not Mr. Mick?" I am confident.
Are you sure?
I am confident I'm Mr. McDonald. And then she says, "Is your middle name Donald?" No, it's Alan, Jayme Alan
I didn't
McDonald.
know that.
She says, Mr. Mick, and she's still addressing me as Mr. Mick.
Oh man, Donald Mick. That's so good.
Right?
So like MC?
MC. Like she thinks that's now I'm looking at her and
Which no one is named
Right.
MC.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I'm sure BC has a vowel rule.
Oh.
There has to be a vowel
You need
in
one.
there.
if you
Yeah.
if you
Somewhere.
watch this show or listen or if you've ever met me, people are always telling me, why are you yelling? And this is the level,
Valid
this is the
question,
tone
normally.
that they think I'm yelling.
Yeah.
And this is not yelling. I could go.
Yeah.
I can go a little. So I just start speaking a little more clearly and confidently. And I
Clearly.
just say, listen, I need to speak with someone with immediate urgency, with absolute say over what can happen next, because you don't have it.
Yeah.
So someone comes over and says, what seems to be the problem, Mr. Mick? And I said, that's the problem. That's the exact problem. And then we go back and forth a little bit, and they tell me, well, I guess the real reason you're Mr. Mick to me right now is that your birth certificate here has a space between Mick and Donald. Now, I haven't had to use this birth certificate in forever, but I'm holding an expired passport that I had to definitely use my birth
Supposed to
certificate to
hand that
get,
in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
My passport says McDonald. There's no misinterpretation there. It was, and so they're telling me, well, we're going to have to update your ICBC license with Mr. Mick. I tell them, like, wait a minute, my old one is correct and you're going to update it wrong? And they said, yeah, we have to use your new information to update it. I'm like, it's not new. Full
Your
stop.
new information.
It's not new. That's wrong.
Technically old, even.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then I'm showing them the passport. And I'm like, why would someone with more stringent criteria get it right and you guys aren't?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it's expired. I'm like, but it was issued a couple months. Like, the whole thing boggled my mind. Anyway, it ended with me making them retake my replacement photo 4 times because I had the murderous death look of all time on it. Just sat there like.
But how did you
Staring.
convince them not to let you go as Mr. Mick?
I didn't, and I'm waiting for my license.
Oh,
in 2
I cannot
weeks.
wait to
That
see
says
this.
Mr.
Holy fuck.
Mick.
Oh, my Lord.
So that one little space, somebody in the birth registry office just decided to hit the space bar on the...
You guys should have heard that phone call when I called my mother. Mom, who was the one that signed my birth certificate? I was like, were you hopped up on the drugs? Epidermal pop. Like a little bit.
So it's based on what was signed there?
It was... The whole thing is so bureaucratically backwards.
So I've heard a similar story, which it was the lack of a space. I met someone named A. Thomas. Athomas. A. Thomas.
Athamas.
Athomas.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I
last name.
asked him, at first I thought I was pronouncing it wrong. Maybe it was an ethnic name. And I talked to him and I was like, eventually I got comfortable and I said, what's the deal with your name? Like, it's unique. And he's like, well, let me just say, we need to be drinking a bit more. And it was a series of clerical errors.
A series. So
Yeah.
he's stuck.
Yeah.
So he's stuck in the system. This is
he's
me
A. Thomas.
right now.
Yeah.
This
Now,
is his
Clay,
like,
St.
The man's
Thomas.
like a
I have to let you
40-year-old
know.
man. Yeah, so like
I'm stuck.
so I can imagine a space here or there can really fuck around with your future.
Can you-
Well,
name.
yeah, clearly.
Can you also imagine me vibrating with intensity and anger at someone renaming me after 31 years of staunch, unblemished McDonald background?
It makes the name
Just
MD
said.
a bit more clear.
It does.
Yeah,
Mr. Mick.
totally.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a rapper. He's MC. Look at that. I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's relax. Jesus Christ.
So was she the picture retaking process, was that like, can you give me something that's a little less you want to eat the camera?
She was like, neutral face. So I gave her one of these. And then she was like, that's a little too jail. A little, can we get you a little bit up from that? And I was like, okay, maybe just, maybe low max, like not not high max.
Gotta get something a little less felony.
Yeah.
Still jail, but not that jail.
Like soft jail. I was like, give him one of those. This is really good for an audio format, by the way. I'm showing expressions on
So where does the video portion of this appear?
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Goes on YouTube, yeah. And then we do clips on Facebook and stuff. But
Yeah. Okay, wow.
It's good, but hey, I had a good time.
wear any pancake or anything. I look like I've been up for 4 days.
Nah, you didn't-
I didn't know this was going on.
Dude, you're a sharp looking fella.
Yeah, thanks.
It's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine.
So, Mike, what kind of beer do you like? You're the beer guy in the group.
Yeah. I'm more of like a IPA drinker, I guess.
Yeah, me
that would be my predominant style of. But I like all beer.
Yeah.
I like all beer. But yeah, mostly heavy IPAs or any kind of crazy, heavily hopped bitterness.
Yeah.
Like, that's like kind of my
Did you see
jam.
there was now I've derailed your itinerary for the interview now by asking about the beers.
Zero itinerary, by the
Okay,
way.
good. Okay, well, you seem to have a plan, so I don't want to be going.
That
anti-
the illusion's working. That's that's all there is to it.
So there was a thing today. That some friend of mine shared that about how people were claiming that the hophead thing was ruining the craft beer industry because it
yeah,
was
a
turning
lot
people
of
off.
a lot of people have that
What's
assumption
this?
about it.
What is this? What are you talking
Well,
about?
the super hoppy IPA stuff.
Okay.
That it's actually off-putting. It's hurting the craft beer industry, which is, I think has no worries about it being hurt, because a lot of people are off-put by that stuff that's really hoppy.
I don't know if I have the palate to even tell you what that is. That the stuff that tastes like dish soap?
Well, no, it's
Well-
super bitter. It's the hops.
Yeah?
Hops make the beer more bitter. All beer has hops of some
Okay,
kind.
this,
but it's
what
a
we're
matter
drinking
of
right now,
degree.
does this have lots of hops?
No, it does not.
No,
this
it's not
this is
tasty.
a
It's
this
not
is a
hoppy.
malty brown ale. So like with like nut like finishes and stuff like
I
that.
feel like you're teaching me language. Like you're like, this is a vowel, and I'm like,
How can you have that facial hair, live in Vancouver, and not know beer?
I don't know. Oh, well, I looked at Saavedra. I was like, that's a good look. I'll
like-
just steal his look.
Because like you've had a fat tug before. Like we've been out. And
That's
we've,
right.
You've
Yeah.
tried to drink it and
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
don't
that's-
really. You're not
They're
really
okay.
big on that.
They're not my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
I'm sure
that
they're
beer
good.
is like it's a hop that you can at least taste. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's still like Fat Tug lays in like that high. I think it's like 75 to 90 somewhere in there. Like hop, like IBUs is what they
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
rate the beer at. But then like people like there's some breweries down in California that make beers that are well over 100 IBUs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
your palate can't even sense anything over like 95. Like
4K
then
of
it's just
beers.
like it's
Yeah,
too much.
totally.
It's too much
It's like
for you.
4K.
So it's
Yeah.
like regressive almost, and it's like like
Well, it's sort of it's a dick contest, right? It's like, well, ours is 150.
Yeah.
they do the same thing in.
But it's a palate record.
Yeah.
Like once
Yeah, yeah.
once you have that, like say if you started the night, and I've seen people do it at at like a pub or something, because some people come into the pub and they like look at it and they're like, 13% beer, that's gonna be awesome. I'll just get one of those. I'm like, you shouldn't start with that. Like it's 135 like IBUs. You won't be able to taste anything after this. Your palate's so wrecked that like it doesn't come back into.
I didn't know that.
Like
I
you
didn't
won't be
know
able to
that.
taste
It is a
any
strong
beers.
flavor.
Did you know that,
Yeah.
Clay St.Thomas? You seem like you're well versed.
Yeah, I've never really thought of it that way because I'd be the guy going and ordering that 13% alcohol 150 IBU IPA because I like that kind of thing.
Yeah, me too.
But it does. Yeah, it's exceptionally
You
aggressive.
can't
I
go
didn't know
from
that.
that and then just be like, I'll take that Hefeweizen next or whatever.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know, like a mild. Like if you drank one of those 120 IBUs and then you drank this, you may as well just have a glass of water like after you're done, because you won't taste any of the notes or the flavor in the beer. It'll just be booze
okay.
into your mouth. Like that's it. That's
Yeah.
all you're
It's
drinking.
Kind of my move anyway.
That's C-Mart style right there.
I just want that stuff in me.
I didn't know that. It sounds like that Hophead. Sounds like that's a little bit like the Loudness Wars. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of any of that? So in music, it started back in the 80s. Mastering engineers, it's funny we talked about mastering earlier, but mastering engineers started mastering records not to the dynamic, not to the sonic quality that makes it the best record,
Right.
but they were doing it to what the quote unquote standards were for radio, to make it radio loud. Radio quality. So when you get a mastered song, for people out there that don't know, usually you write a song, you record a demo, usually the demo, then you record final tracks, then you mix those tracks, then you get that song mastered as a part of an album or a single, and then you release it. And that's how usually it goes. That's how you get it from Spotify nowadays, people or whatever they listen to. That's generally the process. But along the way, mastering engineers have been involved in this weird loudness war. It's kind of a contoured loudness war. So if you listen to a vinyl from the 70s, there's people always use that adage of like, oh, vinyl sounds so live and better and rich, and which is true. However, the mastering has a lot to do with that, because what they're doing is, rather than peaking all of the waveforms in the song, they're actually contouring the record within the dips and the lows. That's why you can listen to a classic album like Dark Side of the Moon, albeit remastered 30, 40 times now or something like that.
Yeah.
But like you can listen to that album and it's timeless, perfect classic, because
Yeah.
all those notes, every bit of that saxophone and Great Gig in the Sky, everything's just phenomenal in that record because it's well done. Like the dynamics are able to be hit every single level.
So are you talking about them being super compressed? So
It's
bring the
really-
whole thing up to make it really aggressive?
That's it. Yeah. So this over compression
Yeah.
is like a real issue. So what happened basically in the 80s is with radio now having to like essentially it was actually the big step. The thing that actually really started this was back in FM.
Yeah.
When FM started, that was when people realized they had this whole other fidelity that you could actually reach with quality of sound. And then if you fast forward to say like the 90s, mid 90s, and you have this really commercial, clean sheen of pop, and you have the digital era start, now you're no longer dealing with tape machines that give warmth to a recording.
Right.
The sound will, rather than distort naturally and give you like kind of warm fuzz.
Yeah.
Ones and zeros don't distort, right? Saavedra knows all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the ones and zeros don't distort. They just turn to twos, and a two in a computer just it clips. It either turns off.
That's not how
completely
ones
or
and zeros work.
this guy is a computer guy.
see, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know a lot. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't know a lot. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like that loudness war, you think that they would have reached peak at this point, but here we are in 2017, and it's so loud now. Like it's so like you have to be max. Your RMS needs to be maximum, like 0.00 at the end of mastering. Otherwise,
No one knows what RMS means.
well, if you manage to get a song on the radio, as difficult as that can be, and Clay can definitely attest to that. If you manage to get a song on the radio, and it's not mastered in this method that is within the war, they're going to play Taylor Swift, and then they're going to play your song, and you're going to sound not as impactful. And that's just the reality of it. So it's very hard to, like, how do you walk back from that? It has to start from like the mastering houses need to like form some kind of, union or something like that. And it's hard to say though, but that level of organization doesn't exist. So rather than that, everyone just keeps stepping it up.
I'd like to think that with everything being streamed now, that I'm kind of shooting my own industry in the foot, but soon everything will be streamed. Even traditional radio stations like JR will one day soon be. Sure, a half. What the hell, a half?
Yeah, here we go. I like this.
Everything will be streamed. You would hope that room for fidelity would come back again because it is being digitally delivered, and you don't have to worry about even the frequency limitations of AM or FM. But once you get used to that kind of punch on records, you're right. Nobody wants to be less than that. Yeah. Everybody wants to have that ballsy kind of grab you by the throat sound within the first. 4
impactful
bars of
that makes sense. That makes way more sense.
But so I don't think you're ever going to give that up.
It's strange, right?
Not for hit songs, anyway.
How can you it's ground you'll never walk backwards on. It's because I don't know how else to do it.
But it depends on how it's delivered, right? Like obviously, it's interesting to think that you went from AM, obviously it's low, to like FM, which is a bit better, but still like not even close to what someone in their home could reproduce. And then quality goes down, and then down further in the digital era with like 128 MP3s played on some shitty speakers or some shitty whatever, and then it goes like it's constantly shifting.
Yeah.
Right, and no song can really, in any given recording, truly. It just is what it is.
Well, it's interesting about that because you mentioned like the 128. Kilobyte.
Sure,
thing.
Or lower 96 if you had some shitty song recorded from some other whatever.
So many people don't care,
right?
Yeah,
most people can't or don't.
It's so bad for you. This isn't fear mongering. This isn't fear mongering.
Says a music producer.
But I'll tell you right now, it is so bad for you because if you don't know the science behind an MP3, it's overcompressing the frequencies that you don't hear. So in the human hearing spectrum, you can only hear between 20 hertz and 20,000 kilohertz. So 20 kilohertz basically. So that frequency, that's all the human range can hear. But a piano note can extend beyond that, and that's what gives it depth.
I would say all
and
sounds
space.
extend.
Sure, but just for example though, like the depth of that can really be, can definitely go beyond that. So when you have an MP3 that is like tinny, very light sounding, you're most likely being bombarded with extreme high frequencies in your ear that you're not capable of even understanding. You ever pull out your like those old the Generation 1 Apple earbuds, whatever?
Yeah.
You pull those out after a while and you'd be
ear
like
spears?
Yeah, you'd be like, oh man. Yeah, ear spears. Yeah. You just be like so sore though. You'd be like, oh, my ears hurt. And that's kind of like, if you think about it, we've had about 15 years of that, and now streaming, there's higher quality streams out there, and like even terrestrial radio,
only improve.
Terrestrial radio, you can stream high quality versions of that online. You can do like so that has definitely stepped up. But I wonder how that's going to affect people in about 15, 20 years, maybe because that's like 15 years of basically working at an airport without ear protection. Like that's really bad for you. If you listen to your music on 128 MP3s every day, and maybe you still do that, I would recommend not doing that.
You're talking about hearing loss. I was talking about people listening to shitty music.
Yeah,
because
that's
not
what I thought you were talking about.
It's still not good for you. It's still, you're right. You're right.
A friend, but depending on your age, a friend of mine who's my age, I was having the same fight with him or discussion with him about the quality of MP3s and how it's so disgusting that people have now not only. People thought that CDs were a step down from vinyl because it was digital and it didn't have that same warmth. And now it's like nobody cares at all. It's like, can I put 10,000 songs on this device and listen to them, and that's all I care about. And he was like, listen, dude, I listen to many of these songs on AM radio. He says, the quality of these MP3s that you're poo-pooing is so much better than that was. Or even, he says, it's comparable or not a lot worse than you get off FM radio, how a lot of people listen to their music, right? So sonically, it's not that bad. And I'm like, yeah, but if you claim to be a fan of music, it's nowhere near what you should be hearing. So
I completely agree.
Yeah, like it's, and you don't know... I guess for people who don't really care, or who go, I can't hear the difference, and I don't care to listen hard enough to hear the difference. And I know lots of people like that. Most people. That's why people are playing music off their phones.
That's Michael telling me about hops.
They're bringing it all back.
Yeah,
That's how that works.
Totally
like, I don't need to drink this. Like, my Molson Canadian's just fine. I'm like, well. Good
in
for
fact,
you.
fact, we'll start giving you a hard time about being some kind of snob. Well, it's not fancy enough for you and your fancy music.
But the same can be said for just about anything. Like, everything has its, like, comparable, like, something up here, and then you're like, why are you doing that? You could be checking this out instead.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Fuck you. Like, I'm not... Comedy, like, we have loads of comedians on this show. It's like, well... I'm a big fan of catchphrase comedy. I'm like, well, you're doing it wrong. You should be watching these guys instead. It's like, I watch a guy with puppets. He makes me laugh. I'm like, well, you're wrong. You're wrong in every respect.
It is funny. I've noticed that Jeff Dunham has very slowly over the last couple of years started to take that whipping boy role in comedy. I've noticed a lot of people reference him now in the way that Carrot Top was in the late 90s.
It's just because Larry the Cable Guy hasn't had a special lately.
And Larry Cable Guy was terrible. terrible. He was really bad. But
he'll be on next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn it. It's next week's guest.
Actually, that's the curse. Our show, I don't know if you know this.
What's that?
Do you have anything like this on your show? I'll explain first, and you tell me if there's anything like that on your morning show. If we ever announce our next guest.
They have real schedulers, though.
I know, you have real people.
No, we don't, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just whenever we can put together.
I apologize for making the assumption.
If we ever announce who's going to be on the show, it's like, say at the end of the show, like, oh, and next week we'll have blah, blah. Have a good night, everyone. If we do that, they never show up. It's a curse.
Right.
It's happened. I don't know.
No, totally.
More times. I've lost count of how many times.
We cannot. It's usually with artists in our case. Like artists are planned to come on.
Typical artist.
Well, yeah, and they're gonna.
Fucking so typical.
I know. Jackasses. So so it's the point where we don't ever pre-promote artists' appearances on the show unless we have a number to call them. If you want me to pre-promote this, I need a number where I can reach them
personally,
because they're not going to call. Or it's usually on the phone. They're not going to call, and we're going to sit there, holding our, and wondering what happened again.
This is the internet. You can swear.
Can I? Oh, I said. Dick. I said it. Dick.
We'll edit that out.
Can you believe that?
I'll leave a rooster crowing there.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's not.
Interesting.
It is the same. Exactly the same thing. Guests. In our case, it's an artist who's going to come on for a few minutes, but yeah. So
it's weird. I don't know.
I guess we're asking a lot more for people to come to this space, whereas like you're probably talking to touring artists who knows what they're up to in a given moment, but they still agreed to it.
Yeah, they agreed to it, and it's a phone call.
Yeah, totally reasonable. Yeah.
See, we've just started in the last couple months being approached by PR companies and things like that.
They've heard about the number 2.
They want to. They're like, hey, we want to get in touch
bigger
with
than one.
Yeah, we want to get in touch with the second overall best podcast.
Well, you don't want to go directly to number 1.
Now they're like, we still want it to appear grassroots and organic.
That's right.
We want it start second. And I always say, well, we are third tier. So if you guys want to, if you guys do want to, that's just saying. But we've just been started being approached by some of these people, and they're all very nice. And you think, because I've dealt with some of these guys before in other areas of the industry, but they're all so nice, and then stuff starts coming up where they start seeing how much they can get for you. It's just like any booking of anything, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to explain because they're like, oh, you guys have video cameras in here. You guys, this and this and blah blah blah. Is there like lapel mics for secondary backup recordings and all that? And I'm like, that's a good idea. And they're like,
Thank you for that.
it's like that's good. Yeah. They're like oh, you don't have that. I'm like, no. They're like, okay. Well, we have to make sure we do get a finalized product that we can. And I'm like, it's almost like they're consulting me about the show more than that I'm booking. And
So is this the guests themselves or their people?
they're people. Yeah. I prefer to deal with people directly.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've had an episode booked with the guest directly.
Yeah.
And then they have to involve their person, and I'm always bewildered at that.
Yeah.
Because like whose hand is on the wheel essentially.
Yeah.
And it just never goes well. It never ever goes well because then they want to sanitize it.
Okay, and I have questions for you.
I love this.
Who are your podcast heroes? The ones that you not emulate, but that you look up to.
Okay, easily right off the bat, Bill Burr to me is this all-encompassing comedy engine.
Yeah.
And his podcast, I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but
I have. You know what? I had to stop listening to it. I didn't like it that much.
Okay, what is that?
Was it the Trump stuff?
Well, no.
Got off the rails a bit. He's fine, but he got off the rails.
No,
a
don't
bit.
listen to C-Mart. He doesn't.
Well,
his views
but
don't
here's the
represent
thing.
my views at
Now,
all.
has he changed it? Because when I heard his stuff, it was just him. It was just Bill.
Yeah.
That's all he does, right? It's just Bill.
He just
and I
ran-
like
yeah.
Bill Burr a lot.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I found them a little rambly and self-indulgent. Like I don't need to hear. It was a little verbally masturbatory. After 90 minutes, I'm like,
I mean, he is alone.
yeah,
He's gotta
and
cut-
it has
yeah.
to be. So
Yeah.
but whatever pops into my head at this second, I don't think anybody's entertaining enough that I should listen to you freeform for 90 minutes and expect to be entertained.
That's fair.
That's why this format is great because you've got 4 people, 4 different things. You can start having fun with stuff. That's
Yeah.
why all successful morning radio shows have multiple people because this stuff can start bouncing around and some kind of thing can happen to it, right?
I think
And
there's
I like Bill Burr a lot, but you're wrong. What are you talking about before? Your opinion is wrong.
yes.
But
Yeah.
you can't
You're-
have him as a hero.
Your facts are no match for my opinions.
Yeah,
That
that's
kind of
right.
thing, Yeah,
That's right.
I'll tell you, the reality though is, I think he has, for me, in my opinion, I think he has a pretty tough situation there. Like he's chewing 90 minutes, like that's a hard
Right.
90 minutes to fill. But I can see how it can be grating to other people, like his voice and things like that. I love it personally because I've never heard someone that just takes thoughts right from my head before I can say them. He
he's
represents
good,
that for
yeah.
me.
He has
But
good self-awareness, too.
He's really good. I think all podcasts at some point have to say that Joe Rogan is a major
Absolutely.
influence. Like he has. I mean, just look at our format. If you looked at this video setup right now, the way we have this, the way we have our guest, there's no way. If I said to you right now, "Oh, I've never even listened to Rogan," that would be first a lie, and then second, just a weird situation. They'd be like, "Really?" Like they'd show me the show, and they'd be like, "It looks similar, very similar." I think our dynamic we have with the crew here, and also like all 3 of us are diverse enough, like you were saying, that like there's less of a solo act, so to speak, with Rogan, where he has that going on. And I think, I don't know if Saavedra loves podcasts. The question was, which podcast are you interested in? Like your hero, like who do you glean influence from?
I guess it would be like more the comedy, like the really high end, like comedy Bang Bang and stuff like that. Where
The Earwolf stuff.
it's pretty much like improv, like for an hour and a half with the characters and all that stuff. I feel like I love that. Like that was the podcast that really got me listening.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I've never heard it. So
That's like Scott Aukerman and
Scott Aukerman.
basically,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And then
That's cool. Because I'm always looking for new stuff. Like I listen a lot to Nerdist.
Oh yeah.
Hardwick.
He's
good.
Yeah, he's so good. And the interviews, I find he's just an incredible interviewer. Like and I guess maybe he's an acquired taste, but I think he's so good at making people feel at ease and getting them to go down topic paths that he talks about it himself that are not the usual questions you expect. That it's just conversation about all kinds of shit. And I really, really like that. Like similarly, I started listening recently to Mark Maron.
Yep.
Yeah.
WTF. That's the best one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
he's
just say
really good at that too.
Mark Maron's definitely like there's this Mount Rushmore of podcast
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
and Mark Maron would have to be in there.
Yeah.
And you'd
Yeah.
have to.
He's right up there. I'm like,
Actually, we just had some love from Adam Carolla recently,
yeah,
which was kind of cool.
Adam Carolla
Wow.
Adam
commented
Carolla.
on
Well,
one of
how
our
do you mean
shows.
you had some love?
We posted some. What was the?
Oh, he
story?
just commented on one of our posts and was like, "Ah, great going." Like,
Which was
saw
nice.
that,
We're like,
and then-
oh,
What was that?
and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's one of those fan pages of Adam Carolla, and then we
was
look
like,
and it's like,
that's
oh no,
actually Adam
and then Saavedra reached out to him on Twitter, and he was like, yeah, thanks, or something like that. He like thanked him. He like thanked him. It was
So
like,
I gave you the one.
yeah, he's like,
That's what you're
please, all these. This is
but
two
Adam,
hundred fifty
Adam
thousand
Carolla
dollars.
was right there on like the ground floor of like as soon
Same
as like
thing.
Man Show ended and like
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel went to do his thing on late night.
Yeah.
Carolla just went straight podcasting and.
Yeah.
He is the massive acquired taste because he is. I don't know if I can. I used to try and listen to his podcast.
Yeah,
Or in the
yeah.
early going before, like there were 5 million shows to listen to on.
Yeah, that's
iTunes.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he was one of the first ones, like along with like Mark Maron and Chris Hardwick
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think the fact that you have so many great options to choose from.
Yeah.
It's interesting to speak about this with you because I think like you have one foot so hard in the terrestrial radio
Yeah.
world that I don't want any of this to seem like insulting to you in any regard. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's just it's a different thing. It's not what we do.
It's a
Yeah.
totally different medium.
Yeah.
That's why I try to tell
Yeah.
people. They're like, "Oh, you're replacing radio." I'm like, "No, unless you really enjoy those long form, like."
But it's strangely
NPR.
similar, though, isn't it? Like,
Well,
like
some things about it are. I mean,
format-wise are, but
But you couldn't compare like NPR long form conversations.
No.
With what the JR Morning Crew is doing.
no.
You know
no,
what I mean?
Totally not.
But is it-
Or any
is
of
it
the morning
difference-
crews, like
Yeah.
any morning music
Yeah,
crew,
no,
like
no,
they're
no.
doing something we would never.
Yeah,
We
like
couldn't even fathom.
I think
Like-
about it all the time. I always think it's funny. Like I actually envy a lot of what you guys do sometimes because the amount of times we talk about something and I'm like, it'd be great to just throw to that song right now and just put it on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that we can't. We'll just get definitely yanked down from YouTube. Definitely get striked. And you only get 3 of those.
Yeah.
but is it a length
Yeah.
thing or is it the type of discussion or like where do you like if you were to look back on all of the recorded media
Mm-hmm.
and understand and then try to like so you had all these radio shows and all these podcasts what would be the differentiating marks on them like because you could go to like you could like oh some DJs have like 40-minute songs versus a person that has a 2-minute song. They're still making music. One is super long and one is super short.
But those are like mixes. Like
No,
40-minute
but I mean,
songs.
like, if you just did, like, a crazy house track that was just, like, eternally lengthy. Like, they're completely different genres of
Right.
music and totally satisfying different audiences, but they are still the same, they're still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But so...
You know, there's a sensibility that I think would serve this format as well as what serves what we do on the JR Morning Show, for example, or any morning radio show. And that's the knowledge that while we're just sitting here having a conversation, you know that you want it to be appealing to people. You know you want them to
Right,
be
yeah,
entertained by
yeah.
what's being said. So
Of
you're
course.
you're having the conversation you would have around the kitchen table, but you're not really having that conversation. Like it's heightened.
that's
right?
true.
I see.
That's a very true comment.
It's heightened on on morning radio like to the power of 10. But here it's only heightened. It's only squared here. It is heightened though.
I agree with that because there is a certain presentation value that if we're just speaking on this show, there is a certain presentation value that comes with having multi-angle cameras and this kind of thing.
yeah.
Like we do present it in a certain way. You're right about that. If we use the kitchen table as the parameter, there's definitely like you said to the power of 4 rather than 10.
Yeah.
Which is really like
Yeah.
radio. I think there's something about when the show turns off though, like when this episode ends, the amount of times an episode has ended and then we start talking about something right away, right off air.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, that would have been perfect.
Yeah,
That would have been
yeah,
perfect.
keep
and that's
rolling, yeah.
I think that's represented. That's a representation of what you're talking about. Because
Yeah,
that's suddenly the power of 4 going down to 0.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
what it. Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny, like I don't know. I think the best shows are the ones that remove that further and further down to 0. Like if 10 is the best version on radio of that.
Yeah,
because like you know there's shows out there that are like 20 to the power. They're like, well, guys, we don't have like.
See, no, but I don't mean. I know what you're saying, but I don't necessarily mean in terms of just the presentation style. I'm talking in terms of how do I explain this? That like we do the longest breaks we do on the JR show, for example, and we're shorter than some stations where you wish they would shut up. But we purposely keep it shorter because we know that people's time and attention is limited. So the longest things we will do is if we get into a conversation and it might be 5 or 6 minutes at a segment, and then commercial or song or something like that. What was my point in bringing that up? So when I talk about it being to the power of 10, to me is the amount of energy you're putting into this being entertaining.
Right.
Not necessarily in talking up here, having it be this guy. It doesn't have to be that, but it is that what we're saying right now should pick somebody up by the scruff of the neck and say, "Come here and listen to this." You're going for that a lot more
engagement
in a terrestrial radio show.
Yeah.
Whereas this is allowed to be a conversation.
I see.
That's
okay.
and that's why
Yeah.
it's in some ways it's a cool beast and different than that because it is just a conversation. What's the same about both of them, I think, now that we're sitting here and talking about it, about the terrestrial radio and podcasts, what's the same is that sense that ideally if they're good hosts and you like what's going on, you wish you were there in the room having the conversation.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
and that morning radio, what we try to do is the same thing too. Like we want to be like your
welcoming.
The best, but the best version of your best friends. Where
everyone's saying cool shit and like
and that sounds like a fun room to be in.
Great point, pal.
So you just like being part of the conversation because the conversation's fun and it's going interesting places. And
Like
people are saying smart stuff and funny stuff and stupid stuff and a lot of things like that at the same time.
Like, I don't know what you guys were like when you were kids, but I always...
Shitty. I was shitty.
You were a shitty person. I'm shocked. I'm shocked, by the way, that you were like that. I used to really enjoy sitting in the kitchen and being completely quiet while all the adults spoke and just sitting there listening. And that's kind of like... And that's where it is. You pick up rhythms. You learn, people aren't talking over each other. They're not, things like that. Like little...
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But,
early in the night.
That's right.
I guess I was, because I do agree with you but that's people being able to kind of let loose and say whatever they want in that kitchen table scenario, the actual kitchen table. But I guess for you, I wonder, how do you know your own line to draw? Because something I struggle with, even just sitting here in this behind the thing, I never want to say, I never want to be untruthful or be outrageous and say something that I will be like later being like, why did I, that was silly. That was, first of all, I'm wrong.
Right.
And two, I am totally misinformed or whatever. But yet, if you want to put it to that level 10, have a really engaging conversation, how do you kind of rein that in for yourself?
Well, there's that.
Good question.
It's a good question, and it's a very good point because you are going to get yourself in trouble by trying to keep that at level 10 all the time because you're going to wind up saying things that either sound full of yourself or are stupid or wrong.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you're constantly trying to kind of
absolutely right.
Grab people's attention all the time. Well, we hope to be really real in what we do. Like we want to sound like real people. We don't want to sound all Ronnie radio and that stuff. But you are constantly trying to keep people pulled in. So, and people bust us on stuff all the time.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Sorry, that term you just used, Ronnie radio. That's a new one for me. What is that?
Oh, lots of people in radio use that.
Is that
I think you were talking about that. Hey!
That's the insider term. That's the voice for that.
Yeah.
Ronnie radio.
Ronnie radio.
It's a good one. I've never heard of.
This whole interview has been just gold right now. Yeah. This is perfect.
They call him Ron Rad?
Ron Rad, yeah.
Yeah, you're trying not to be, but you're gonna. I mean, it's is commercial terrestrial radio, so there is a bit of that in the style and the way it's presented. So, but the similarity is you want to be saying things in a way that people think they're talking to somebody who's real, and like what their friends might sound
Yeah,
like.
I agree.
The best version of their friends. Not their friends, the ones that they don't go for lunch with all the time because they're kind of deadbeats, but the ones they like the best. You want to be those friends.
It's a very specific example. Did
Yeah.
someone stand you up for lunch recently?
No, but some you're more enthusiastic about accepting the invitation from than others. So to your
Most
credit,
certainly.
as the number two podcast in the West Ender,
Hey.
and based on our experience last time, I knew that coming back again that I would have fun and this would be that kind of conversation.
I appreciate that.
So
Very
yeah.
good.
I definitely appreciate
That's how
that.
you get the people coming back.
I hope so because, I mean, there's a whole other year to crown the next second overall. Hopefully, we'll be knocking on the second overall door
I want,
again.
No, I'm
I
telling
want
you, it's
2.5 or 1.5. I don't know what's up, but not the top from 2.
I think it's funny. It would probably be 1.5, which is weird to say that, but yeah.
I want to be an ankle biter.
The guys that
Yeah.
the guys that probably won deserve it. They've been doing it so long, like for 10 years.
Well, now why are we not saying their name? Is it some kind of?
Because I don't know if it.
rumor thing?
I don't know if it's
We don't
actually.
know. We don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they
Who
actually
do you think
won.
it is?
I
Or you
think
don't want to give them a plug on your show?
no. Of course. I think Graham Clark and Shumka won with
Stop Podcasting.
Yeah, Stop Podcasting Yourself is the name.
Oh, okay.
And,
Again, another thing I haven't listened
They
to.
they do rather well for themselves.
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
they're
they're
like
great.
they're actually part of the comedy Just for Laughs showcase
nice.
this
Yeah.
week. Yeah,
Okay.
like they're always the show, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I mean they've been around for 10 years. We've been around for 3.
But even that's what's great about this universe is that you don't have to be them to be successful because they're comedy guys, right? Is that their thing?
Yeah.
So
They're stand-up comedians.
yeah, so that's
Really
that's gonna
good
have
too.
a
They're
different
great
vibe.
guys. Yeah.
But people's best friends, the ones that like talking to, are not stand-up comedians, and they still love conversations with them. So you don't have to be,
That's
stand-up
true.
comedy funny to have a good podcast.
Yeah, it's not a qualifier. It helps.
Yeah,
But
well, sure,
it's
because
not
they
a-
think fast on their feet,
Yeah.
but all smart people do. So you don't have to have that.
We really like having the amount of comedians on the show that we have. Like I was talking with someone on the weekend. We were talking with Steve McGowan on the weekend, who we always take shots at the end of the show.
Fuck Steve McGowan.
Fuck Steve McGowan. Hashtag fuck Steve McGowan. We love that guy. But he was talking. We were talking to him, and I was telling him we just really like being part of the infrastructure of the comedy scene. Like someone told me a long time ago, about 12, 13 years ago, something like that, just right when I moved out here, they said that the problem with the music industry in this area is that there's too much head, not enough body. There's no body to support the head. There's way too many people trying to make it, quote unquote, but there's nothing there to support the head. So it always just never goes as far as you think it should.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
yeah, so I took that thinking and I tried to apply it to parts of this show, and I think that so far it's been working out great. Like it's good to have an avenue for like comedians to come on. Like if they can go do Stop Podcasting Yourself, fuck yeah, it's a great show. You guys go do that. If you want to come do a different show, then at least we have options on the table. Just like there's always going to be enough people to listen. Like I always try to tell people, start your own show, start your own podcast, do your own thing. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing that. I'm so proud to see people do that when they start, because the idea that like there's only so much to go around, I don't agree with that. I think there's like so much to go
absolutely
around.
I legitimately run out of podcasts to listen to. Like in terms of my interests, I run out of things. I'm like, oh, I gotta find something else.
Right? Yeah.
And
Like,
I'm serious.
yeah.
I don't listen to all this stuff. Like
yeah, you
a
mean
lot
like
of-
your playlist? Like
yeah.
you run
Like
out of,
I hit them all, and I'm like, well, did it? And I'm like, well, what next?
yeah.
And so
Like I used to be the guy.
Maybe
that,
that's a weird situation.
No, you're right. But like I used to be the guy many years ago where I would look at a Rogan podcast and he goes like very commonly like 3 or 4 hours at a time, right?
Yeah.
Which on radio you're like, yeah, of course, right?
Yeah, but that's 3-4 hours nonstop, though.
well,
I know.
three
A
or
marathon.
if
Yeah.
you look at that on paper, I think most people balk at that and go, that's too much. I couldn't get into that. But I look at it like if you had a job, like a proper 8-hour job, that's half your day. You listen to the
Yeah.
podcast while you're typing away or whatever like that. Boom, that's half your day. Oh, you have 2 episodes that day? Sweet. Boom, I just had my whole day taken care of. But I think about it like that. Like it just takes chunks of your day away. You don't have to worry about whatever it is you're doing. Some jobs don't allow for that. I understand.
Yeah.
But like if you do have that ability, like a desk gig or something like that, that's perfect, man. That lets you just chew up your
And the
day.
best ones that I've heard, and I've really only been listening like for the last couple of years, you would be fine drifting in and out of those conversations because they are just real conversations, and you pick up on what's going on that moment, and like he would leave the room at the house party, and you come back in later and join it in a different thread. Yeah. So it's not like you're missing anything, or
exactly.
there's continuity you have to worry about.
Yeah, I had someone ask me the other day. They're like, I haven't listened in about 40 episodes. Have I missed anything? And I was like, well, just the content of those episodes. Like there's no continuity.
What do you want from me?
Yeah, like I'm like, you could literally pick this one up
It's
right
not
now.
a running story. Like,
It's not a serial.
Space Nine.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not a serial from the 70s or something like that. Like you
That
just,
said, some are though. Like
someone even
hardcore history or some of the
that's
other
true.
ones. I just heard about a podcast that was about the history of Rome.
Oh, that one's good. No, I've heard that.
Yeah,
one before.
I hadn't heard it. I
If you
listened
can
to
get through the
episode one
first
today.
if you can get through the first 10 or so, where he
really?
was just doing it with like a desktop
Okay,
mic.
it sounded a little
would
low
not-
budget
yeah,
in
not
2007,
Yeah.
and
It's
so I
2007.
listened to episode 1 today.
I forget the name of the moment, but if you get through the first 10 episodes or so, it's great.
Okay. But I'm really looking forward to it
He,
then. I didn't
he
know
steps
that.
it up right
his
up.
last
in,
podcast was 6.5 hours of hardcore history.
Who are you talking about? Who's this?
Dan Carlin.
Oh, that's Don Carlin, but the history of Rome is a different.
That's true. Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
hardcore
But Dan
history.
Carlin's the
Hardcore history is insane.
like the best. It's
Yeah.
such a good podcast.
Okay.
But each episode is seriously
It's because they're
4 to
like-
6 hours.
he has
Wow,
a
It takes them like months to produce.
yeah. He
Wow.
has a series on the
He's
on-
amazing.
on Genghis Khan's rise and all of his sons and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dynasty, and it's so fascinating. Like there are parts of that are just stuck in my mind forever. Where when they would roll up with armies to the gates of
Here
the
we go.
they would roll up.
This is a whole other hour.
We all
Yeah.
understand how Genghis Khan works.
Hold on, we got to.
No, I know. No,
I'm
please.
just saying, like, they would roll up with whole armies to nations and be like, okay, look,
Cities.
nations essentially because they're like these giant capitals.
The cities were, yeah.
But he would roll up and he would say things like, if you just open your gates, no one will die, and I will pick some of you to come with me to the next town. And that is it. And the people that would defy him, he would just
Raise them.
raise it to the ground. They said that the rivers would flow with blood and ink because he would destroy all their libraries and all of that. Like he would erase you from history. Like just that imagery you just said that. It's very Stuart McLean actually.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
just saying that. But like
Wow.
he had a Dan Carlin's fantastic. It's almost not fair to call them podcasts.
So
No,
are
they're
they,
shows.
they're history based? Like it's the history?
All
it is,
history.
yeah.
Yeah, it's called Hardcore
Wow.
History. You'd love it.
Yeah.
I
They
like to
come out
just
once
run to
every
it.
whenever he's.
He does a
done with
World
an
War
episode.
One. It's called
Yeah.
like something
Blueprint for Armageddon.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
the World War One
Yeah.
ones are also just the top
Fantastic.
notch. They're so good.
Wow.
They're so good.
Yeah.
He's such a vast library. I think he's one of those ones where, like, if you pay him like $5 or whatever on his thing,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can go back and unlock like all the episodes,
Oh, okay.
kind of thing.
It's
Wow,
worth
that-
it. Worth
It's
checking out.
brilliant.
He
It's
keeps a
absolutely
bunch for
brilliant.
free, but then you
Yeah.
can just buy. You can buy the rest. But
When
yeah.
you were like, oh, who were like some of your favorites?
Yeah.
he came to mind, and I didn't say him specifically because like that is so another
Absurd.
tier.
Yeah, we're on some-
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what
yeah.
I mean?
It's almost a different style. It's almost a different form.
Yeah,
It
and
totally
it's
is.
him.
Yeah.
It's just him.
It's almost like
And
a
he's-
radio show.
Yeah,
Like
it
a
actually
play,
reminds me
almost like
of-
because he has his own like narrative voice, but
Yeah.
then when he does citations from text,
He
kind of
talks it up.
assumes a bit of a different voice.
Yeah, yeah,
So he
yeah.
kind of has that, and it's just him. So it's kind of a one man show, kind of a
It's almost an audiobook.
yeah,
kind of
almost
a
yeah,
thing,
Yeah,
exactly.
his one on Caesar was really good too. You get
They're
to
all.
learn-
I mean,
Oh,
I don't think I've heard one where I
Oh,
was like,
no,
"Well,
no.
it wasn't very good."
Really
Like,
good.
I don't know.
So you're telling me Off the Rail does not sponsor the
No, off the
They
rail brewing.
definitely do not.
Don't sponsor.
I would think
Dan
by the
Carlin.
third
They
hour,
would if they allowed it. If he
you know,
allowed
two
them. to.
growlers in, he'd get a little sloppy by that point.
I think so. The fact that he doesn't do them live.
Misheard history with
Yeah,
Dan
exactly.
Carlin.
Yeah, yeah.
Loose
I'm
history.
pretty sure he just murdered everybody. I don't know.
Oh, fuck it.
They went down.
Yeah, he's like, let's hit fast forward now.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
So
You
he
see Troy,
won,
right?
You see,
Yeah.
he won.
Yeah,
Like he won? What?
Yeah, he just plays the dialogue from Troy in it for like about 30 minutes, and he's like, "See, it was just like that." I'll tell you what, Clay St.Thomas, you're fantastic. We love having you on the show. I hope it's not like 100 episodes until we see you again.
Well, you let me know. I'm back.
I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come do this because I know you have really early mornings and this is a later time for you.
Well, now that there's beer, especially.
Oh,
Like,
it's a life game changer. I know.
Yeah.
I know. If people wanted to follow your exploits online, how can they do so?
well,
Other than listening to the fantastic swinging sounds of 93.7 JR
That's
FM.
really most of it happens on the radio in the morning. But I'm on. I Twitter. Do people still tweet?
Yep.
All the time.
All the time.
Just Clay St.Thomas. You search for me, you'll find me there. And on Facebook. And otherwise, that's basically it. We also blog a bit at jrfm.com. But it's more about sharing stuff we've done on the show and kind of content that is dovetails with stuff we've done on the show there.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So it's if you want that's at jrfm.com if you want to do that.
I really like that. Saavedra, how can people follow you if they would care to do so?
Yeah, you can follow me at the Saavedra on Twitter and Michael A. Saavedra on Instagram.
Chris Martin, how can people follow you on
Not a thing, you know that.
You don't do any of this?
I just know that I support the Instagram of Boomsday Alliance.
Yeah, Boomsday_Alliance. That's a good one.
Nice.
It literally says in the show notes under C-Mart, it says, I wouldn't bother. So what,
I don't post.
Like quoting himself.
I don't do anything.
Yeah.
He says, I wouldn't bother.
How old are you, Chris?
30.
Yeah, there's a thing I find among millennials, and especially the younger end of millennials, where they kind of, this social media thing is a little
I'm on
too-
social media. I just don't post. I'm there for the messaging and following of people, but not for my own exposition.
His back's against the wall at the party. He's there. He's not really contributing, but he's there.
I'm surprised because
Hey, if you come talk to me, I'll talk to you.
That's right.
Yeah, but in this format, he's quite forthforthing, and
I know.
lots
Aren't
of
we
good
all
things to put
surprised?
up, and
Nothing
no,
here.
not in social media.
No, he's fantastic though. We love him, and I'll tell you what. If you wanted to follow the podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you
Do
guys
that.
leave us a review. You can search us on iTunes,
5 stars.
on Stitcher,
5 stars.
on YouTube.
5 stars.
I don't know. Does YouTube have stars? Just give us a like.
A thumbs up on YouTube.
Thumbs up on YouTube. We
And
love
tell
that.
those bastards at the West Ender it's number 1.
Oh, what? This is what we needed. We needed a celebrity cosign from Clay St.Thomas.
Yeah,
This would have bumped us up to number 1 for sure.
is that right? I'll send in some ballots next year.
Without a doubt, stuff the ballot box. just they're like, how did this third-rate podcast become first overall?
Become
Dethroned?
1.5.
Yeah, how did they get there? No one will know the answer. But if you want to follow us, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher and YouTube. Clay St. Thomas, you're fantastic. You taught me a while ago not to get involved in a race to the bottom, and it served me in very many ways.
That's we talked about that last time.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you teaching me that. And that actually, that did stick with me.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't announce our guests for next week because I want them to show up, and that's about it. That's it. We love you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning
See you
in.
next week.